Good morning, my dear students. Nice to meet you once more again. Today is our first online lesson, grammar lesson. Last time we started speaking about in marks in the first lesson and the second one. We spoke about the period, the question mark, and the exclamation mark. These are end marks in the declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory sense. Today we have a new mark to speak about, but that mark is not an end mark, it will be a middle mark, or we can use this mark especially in the middle of the sentence. So how can we use that mark and what's the meaning of that mark? So let's see today the new lesson of grammar. Chapter 11, Lesson 3, Using a comma. The first question that you ask yourself about, what's the comma? The comma, as you see, is a punctuation mark that signals a separation of ideas or slight pause. So I have a mark to give a separation of ideas. What kind of ideas? The ideas can be nouns, can be verbs, can be phrases, can be clauses. So what do you think the meaning of the word separation of ideas? The first one that we'll speak today about, using a comma before coordinated conjunctions. Do you remember the coordinated conjunctions? Let's remember together. The coordinated conjunctions are and, or, nor, but, for, so, and yet. We use these coordinating conjunctions to join two independent clauses. And we said before, the independent clause, it means a clause that has subject and verb. So let's remember using that simple example to know what we are speaking about. Gasoline is expensive. That's a clause. Independent clause. Why? I have a subject, I have a verb, and I have a thought. Prices are rising. I have a new subject, a new verb, and a new thought. So I have two independent clauses. How to join or to connect these two together? Easily use a coordinating conjunction. What's the coordinating conjunction? And. So I have to say gasoline is expensive and the prices are rising without using a comma? No. So the comma here is to confirm the meaning of the coordinating conjunction. So that's why you have to use the comma before and. Number 2. Using the comma to separate words, or I can say items. The words here can be verbs, yeah, can be nouns, sure, can be adjectives, let's see. Number 1, if I am speaking about nouns or verbs, what do you think? How many nouns or how many verbs do you need to use the comma? 1, 2, 3, more. What do you think? Look at this example to think with me. When I say companies must develop ways to harvest, store, and transport corn cobs. How many verbs do you see here? Follow me. I have 1 verb, right? 2, 3. So I have 3 verbs: harvest, store, transport. To separate them, I have to use the comma. As you see here, I have harvest. After harvest, I use a comma. After store, I have to use a comma. Before and, I have to use a comma. So how many items did you see? I saw more than 2 items, or I can see 3 items at least. 3 items at least. Verbs, yeah. Nouns, yeah. So what do you think about the adjectives? If I have 2 adjectives, can I use the comma between the 2 adjectives? Let's see. Look at this example and think with me. Gasoline is liquid, colorless fuel. Gasoline is a liquid, right? That's the first adjective, as you see. The word colorless, another adjective, and here I used a comma. Why? Easily I can say because I have 2 separate adjectives. So both of them modify fuel. So I say colorless fuel and liquid fuel. So easily I can say one word if you have 2 adjectives, and you can use and between both of them and here. So you have to use a comma instead of and. So the comma here is instead of and. Remember this well. The comma here is instead of and. But take care. Take care with me in this point especially. Don't use a comma if the first adjectives or if the first adjective modifies the second adjective. We said before when we studied the modifiers, if you remember, that if you have 2 adjectives, the first one modifies the second one, right or not? And the second one modifies the noun after. So that's why we don't need to use a comma between 2 adjectives. One of them modifies another one. Look at the example to simplify for you. The example said, the future may bring a new electric car. Again, the future may bring a new electric car. So the word here I have, can I say easily new and electric car? Can you say that? So look at this. Once more again. Can I say a new and electric car? Of course no, right? So here I don't need to use the comma because I cannot say new and electric car. So the comma is used for the adjectives if you have 2 adjectives to modify one noun. So that's why I said if you have the meaning as 2 adjectives and I can use and between the 2 adjectives, that's easily I can use the comma. But otherwise, no. So don't use the comma like this example, bring a new electric car. You got it? These are the 2 main parts or the 3 main parts of today to describe the comma. I said number 1 in the independent clause. Number 2, if you have 3 items, especially for the nouns or for the verbs. Or the third one, if you have 2 adjectives to modify one noun, so you can use the adjective between the two, you can use the comma between the 2 adjectives. Let's start. Let's practice together. Open page 250 and follow me well, please. Page 250, we have an exercise. You are asked here to look at all the sentences. If you have a mistake in using the comma, so add the comma. If the sentence is written correct, so just write C. Number 1. The towns of Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Stapi were destroyed. How many items can you find here? I think that we have more than two items. The first one, as you see, the first one is Pompeii. The second one is Herculaneum. The third one is Stapi. So I have three different items. So I have to write them as you see now? Of course no. So what's the correction? To use a comma between the first and the second and the third, or before and, as you see right now. Number two, they were buried and they remained hidden for hundreds of years. How many sentences do you have, or how many clauses do you have here? I have two independent clauses, right? How do you know? Here they were buried, they remained hidden for hundreds of years, and I have and as a coordinating conjunction to join the two clauses together. So as we said, you have to use a comma before and. One eyewitness, Pliny the Younger, wrote several long letters. Do you have here any independent clause or coordinating conjunction? No. Do you have more than an item or repetition of items to use a comma among them? No. So of course this one will be a correct one. Pliny the Younger was a statesman, writer, and orator. So I have three different items once more again. So between the first and the second, statesman and writer, I have to use the comma, and before and orator, so I have to use another comma. Historians have analyzed and studied his letters. I have a compound verb. But how many verbs do you have? Three verbs? No, just two. So if you have just two verbs like that and that, so you have to use a comma before? Of course, no. So here the sentence will be a correct one. You got it? That's great. After that, I need your help to complete the exercise, especially 6 to 10, and after that I'll upload for you all the answers for all the page, but after you try by yourselves first, and see you next time inshallah before lesson 4, and to discuss all the parts that we have discussed in lesson 3 and revise them together next time inshallah. See you soon. I miss you so much.